He said, "Did you guys check out spaceportsusa.com? Spaceportsusa.com. I mean, it's like, if I could get some kind of understanding into all those people in that church, maybe that preacher, when he really preaches to those people, he's been trying to preach for a long time. He's like, what do I do, man? I need one of those missionary people to go out there and just tell those people. Because you get down to that church and start listening to what I'm trying to tell you. He says, man, I need one of those translators. He says, so I tell you what, I'll be right back. It's like, okay, here we go. You ready? So, the preacher every Sunday, every Saturday, every Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, whatever day they go down to that church, you're like, man, I'm standing up on this podium. And the preacher, he stands there at the podium, and it's like listening to a guy or a lady with broken hearts, man, as they look out over their attendees, And they got some of those, ever seen those magic shows or the things you see on TV? And they got people in the audience. I need you to do this Sunday and just do something amazing. They'll stand up and do something amazing. Hoping for a miracle, They even made a movie about it, some kind of faith movie or something. They had a preacher out there. He's preaching. He's trying to get a miracle. And he needs these people to have faith, but unless you have people that have faith, you just can't get that miracle, And he's like, how do I get these people to have faith? And some crazy minister shows up in his church and says, times when God asks you to do something, it can be a real pain. It was like being one of those messages they throw out of church. All the guys like throw me out of church, and they tell me in the lobby, hey, you said, and I says, that's not what I said. You misheard what I said. I said what I said was, when God asks you something to do something, it's a pain. And they're like, it's like the minister, and the preacher standing up there on that podium trying to preach to those people, and I don't understand what he's saying. You didn't ask me to show up in that church. I woke up and says, man, I've got to go down to this church. Freaked my friend out too. They were like, man, what's with this guy? He's like having me driving to this church because he said, I don't know why, I just got to go to this church. I go to the church, there I am, saying, hey, I got to ask you to do something. Sometimes it can be a pain, And it's like, then the guy said, throw me out of church. And I was like, tell me I said all this stuff I didn't say. I said, I never said that. This is what I said. And then I left. That's the day that Larry Lincoln's man started preaching about the grapes of wrath and all kinds of stuff. They didn't understand what he was saying. He says, the grapes of wrath. He's like, they're going out there, people trying to get, fruits and vegetables growing to have a dietary supplement, Every now and they celebrate, but those grapes of wrath, because all those people, they show up and they're like, and it's like, they show up all drunk and stuff, hungover from Saturday night, and it's like, here it is Sunday morning, the preacher's looking out over the church. It's like, man, look at all these drunk people, man. If only I could get their minds drunk on the love of God, the love of that valuable education up here at this podium preaching right now, It's like, man, then I got these people that show up here, that have spent all their money wasted on drugs, beer, wine, and booze, and, and they're hungry and they got nothing to eat. They spent all their money on drugs and booze, And it's like they got nothing to eat. You ever seen one of those alcoholics, man? They're so skinny, they look like Skeletor, like the skin and stuff is going to fall off their bones, man, because they ain't ate nothing. And alcohol dehydrates people, so it's like they look like they're dehydrated till there's almost nothing left. And what do I tell these people? And then they ain't got enough money to help take care of them. They're like, man, I got a food bank, but I'm running out of food, man. Can I get food donations? Some crazy minister said, hey, people don't believe the church helps people. So instead of bringing money, bring food for a while, but we need money for clothes and to pay people's rent and things like that, to try to get them into rehab and different, temporary homes. It gets cold in the winter, people can freeze to death. We need money to pay rent and stuff. We rent out a hotel or something. He's up there teaching about the grapes of wrath, and I'm putting that hotel and that apartment complex on hold because I got these grapes of wrath. Nobody in the church knew what he was talking about. He says, man, Then he says, but I got the guy who doesn't even drink, and he's here, and he's like, man, trying to help everybody. And it's like, what do I do, man? It's like, I got the grapes of wrath in my church, and they don't understand what I'm saying. I got all these drunk people in here. They're like about to fall over and die, man. I'm trying to feed them. And I keep telling them, it's not just the food that you eat. It's the food for your mind. The stuff I'm telling you. He's like, can you listen? And it's like, man, everybody looks at the preacher in the church. It's like, man, somebody told me, hey, that Larry Lincoln used to be a really great preacher and his son's growing up. And I want Jason Lincoln to preach, better than his father, So his father can sit back and say, look at what my son's doing. That's what that preacher wants. And it's like, man, if I got to tell those people, hey, you remember when Larry Lincoln was talking about those grapes of wrath? He's like, look at his son. His son doesn't drink or get drunk. He doesn't know how to preach that. I says, hold on, I'll be right back. Look, the grapes of wrath, they make wine out of it, man. You see a wino in your church? He's not just taking them to A.A.A. And it's like, man, that's what Mr. Kirk was talking about. This is the 4 words. It's not enough. Do half the job. Half the job is like, here's some food. I've appeased them. It says that's what Minister Kirk was talking about. Here's some food. They were just feeding everybody, man, trying to get some food in their system. They'll fatten them up because it looked like there was nothing left of them. All that alcohol dehydrated their brains too. So I can't even get nutrition into them anymore. What am I supposed to do? So this crazy guy walks into the church and says, it is not enough. 4 words, man. The people starting to look like dogs, It's like 4, They're crawling around on the ground looking for something to eat. And I go down to the jail and I'm like, you see those people eating out of the trash can? And they're eating out of the trash can and they're not even looking like those winos with the skin falling off their bones. I'm like, man, if I could send those people on a desert mission, man, like rehab and education, they look out there and they're like, man, where's that church? There's a chapel out here. We went on a mission in the desert and there's nothing there. He's like, what about that minister, man? There's nothing wrong with him. He went out to the desert on a motorcycle, man. He's sleeping in the desert. A snake could have crawled out of the dirt from somewhere and poisonous rattlesnake. Middle of the desert, man. I'm like, I must have trust God, There's signs everywhere talking about rattlesnakes and stuff. I'm like, I'm laying on the ground in the parking lot with the motorcycle running. It's cold out there in the desert at night. That snake's like, no fire flames? It's warm? Cool, I'm going to crawl up next to these 2 people and get some warmth. No, man, God was watching over me. Sometimes those preachers just need a story. I says, man, for Larry Linkus, I called up and left a message on the answer machine. I'm like, hey, Larry, I need to leave a message on your answer machine at the church. Hey, can you play me some music on that Facebook site? Larry Linkus like, man, I'm going to play a victory song. I'm going to play whatever kind of church music that guy wants. I don't even know what Mr. Kirk listens to, but we're going to just put, we're going to post posting of religious music. It's like, man, that guy went there and he told him, I ain't got no religion. I got like the word of God. He says, man, if I put this song there, he might translate it. He says, man, well, it means like these grapes are wrath. And he's like, man, now the guy's in a parking lot. He's eating like a grape. Everybody's looking at the minister like, why is he eating a grape in a parking lot? I says, because when that minister starts preaching about the grapes of wrath, I want you to think about Mr. Kirk standing in a parking lot that's empty in the middle of the night, eating a grape going, it's dark out here in the world. So when the sun comes up on a Sunday morning, maybe that church will have so many cars in the parking lot that they'll have to start parking cars across the street or in the grass, showing how much people want to go to church to get those good graces to restore the earth with the good grass. And I'm like, man, that's what we're talking about. We need everybody to go to church and listen to that preacher preaching in that podium. That way, when they go out into the world, they're like walking Christs, a nation of Christs. And you go, man, when they said, let's go fishing over the summer, man, this is how you go fishing.